This guide will walk you through the steps to manage API operation access by applying the Akana licensing feature. This video assumes that you are familiar with previous videos in which we explained how to create licenses, scopes, and groups. We also recommend you to review the video on managing API operation visibility in this series, as this video explains how scopes are assigned to API products and licenses are associated with user groups. In this video, we will use the Pet Store API product that has been created in an earlier video. Also, we will demonstrate the steps from the perspective of a user that is a member of a group that has been assigned to the API product. A license has been assigned to the group that allow group members to see privately scoped operations next to the ones with a public scope. Here, a license is used to manage API operation visibility. In this video, we will explain how licenses can also be used to manage access by client applications. To determine which API operations a client app can access, a developer requesting access to a licensed API can select the appropriate licenses. Therefore, in this video we will show the steps from the perspective of an app developer user. No special user privileges are required. To start, fill in your username and password and click Login. Navigate to APIs in the top-level menu. Select the All APIs option. We will use the Pet Store API that has been created in a previous video. Click the Pet Store API in the list. First, let's review which API operations are visible to this user. Click Documentation in the left-hand menu. The first 4 operations have been configured with a public scope, so they are visible to all users. The bottom operation has been configured with a private scope. Hence, this operation is only visible to users that have been associated with a license that contains the scope. In this example, the user is a member of a group that has been invited to the Pet Store API product. Also, the license containing the private scope has been assigned to this group. So, the user can also see this private operation. Next, let's see how to give a client application access to only this collection of API operations. Note that the Pet Store API product in fact contains a larger number of operations than this user can see. To request access for a client application, click Overview in the left-hand menu. Click Access. We assume that an app has already been created. With this example, we will use an app called User 810 Test App. To select an app, click the Search by App Name field to have available apps listed. Click the name of the app you want to use. Click Next to proceed with the next step. This next step allows you to select an API endpoint. In this case, only a sandbox endpoint is present. It has been selected by default. Click Next. This last step allows you to select the licenses that are available. With this example, 2 licenses are presented. Demo External Default is a public license that will always be presented when requesting access to a licensed API product. The other license, Demo Internal User, is a private license. It is the license that has been assigned to the group to give group members visibility on the privately scoped operation. Hence, this license is presented here as well. Select both licenses by checking the box for each. Click Save to complete the access request. As a result, a contract has been created between the app and the API product. The selected licenses are presented with the contract. For a sandbox implementation, the contract is automatically activated. As an activated contract is now in place, the API can be tested using the credentials of the contracted app for authorization. Click Test Client to open the Akana test client. Most test values are automatically filled in. Note that the operation list only contains the operations that are in scope for this app. This is based on the scopes that are contained in the licenses that have been selected for the app's contract. The app should be able to invoke any operation that is in scope. To test, select a Get operation. Provide a value for any parameter as required. Click Security to generate a client token. For this example, the Pet Store API product has been configured with an OAuth policy. Test Client will automatically generate an OAuth access token for you. Within the security pop-up, select an applicable OAuth grant type. Click Get Token to have the system generate the OAuth access token. Click Next and then Finish to close the security pop-up. You should now be able to invoke the API operation. Click Invoke to invoke the API endpoint. Assuming the target endpoint is available, the request should result in a valid response. You can repeat these actions for any other operation in the list. This guide covered the steps required to manage API operation access by applying the Akana licensing feature. Developers that want their app to be able to access scoped operations can select the appropriate license or licenses as part of the access request workflow. The selected licenses will be part of the resulting contract between app and API. All operations that are covered by the license scopes are now accessible to the app. Access can be tested, for example by using the Akana test client.